What can you buy for $258,100 on eBay? Well, back in 2006, my first company was struggling. We had to get creative to figure out how to return our investors' money and feel a little bit better about ourselves. Here's a story of how we sold a whole company in an eBay auction.
How's it going? I'm Justin Khan from Justin.tv.
What's up YouTube? It's Justin Khan, your favorite founder's favorite founder. Smash subscribe and bang that bell and I'll be your best friend forever. Okay, back to the story. We were working on our first company, Kiko, a calendar startup. Yahoo had offered us $1 million, then ghosted us. Google Calendar had come out and taken all our users. Instead of working on my startup, I spent every day on my couch at my friend Steve and Alexa's apartment, who happened to be the founders of Reddit. While we were there, I sat there for hours every day playing video games. We were very depressed. In the middle of the summer of 2006, it was clear we couldn't continue on the same trajectory. First, I was depressed about how little traction we had. I constantly beat myself up about not being as successful as other startups and was secretly jealous of Steve and Alexis, who had successfully built something people actually used. They were busy negotiating a deal to sell Reddit to Condé Nast for millions, while we were mostly sitting on their couch listening to them negotiate that deal. Also, we were rapidly running out of cash. Paul Graham had invested another $20K to keep us afloat, but we had no idea how to generate revenue and it didn't look as though there was any acquisition interest forthcoming. I felt guilty about raising money from investors and potentially failing. We needed a way out. While brainstorming what to do, I had the crazy idea of liquidating our assets by selling the website on eBay. Now I wish I could claim this was an original idea, but I'd seen it before. Jux2 was a site that showed search results from Microsoft and Yahoo side by side. It turns out that listing two sets of shitty search results next to each other wasn't better than using Google's results, and Jux2 listed itself on eBay for sale after a year. But the most surprising thing was that the site sold for a whopping $105,000. Emmett and I figured if we could even recover $50,000, we could give the money back to our investors and walk away with a clean conscience. So we set up a 10-day auction. In the description, we listed what the buyer would receive: the domain name, source code, user base of around 70,000 signups with almost zero active users, and what they wouldn't receive: the service of Emmett and I as employees. We also offered a week of integration consulting for $3,000 of travel expenses at the buyer's option and listed the whole package at the bargain basement price of $49,999.99. To drum up interest, we posted the auction on Reddit and, wink wink, with the help of a few friends, got it to the front page. Back then, a decade before Redditors were shitposting Donald Trump to the presidency, Reddit was still primarily a haven of Paul Graham fanboys who were mostly interested in tech and startup news. Pretty soon the story was picked up by TechCrunch and blogs all over the internet. The auction became a much bigger story than we thought it would. Apparently, no one remembered Jux2's sale, so we were credited with the idea. What an innovative way to sell a company. Soon, lots of people were writing in to request more details on the auction, the technology, and Kiko itself. One person wrote imploring us to open source the code instead of trying to make a few bucks off of it. To be honest, it was probably better for the open source community, and not to mention the reputations of Emmett and myself, that our unintelligible garbage code was not released into the wild. After a few days of fielding questions, we were wondering whether we'd get a bid, but we couldn't think of what else to do. Then, to our amazement, our prayers were answered. We got a bid for $50,000. Emmett and I were both excited and incredulous. We had listed Kiko on eBay as a last-ditch Hail Mary and only half expected it to work. Then, disaster struck. As soon as we received a bid, eBay canceled our auction. Those Worse, I only discovered this when Jessica Livingston from YC emailed me asking if we had already sold Kiko because the auction page was down. Frantically, I scrambled to dig into the issue and discovered that in eBay's terms of service, they only allowed users to list a single link in the description. We had included two, one with the domain name and one to the API that we'd written. By a technicality. I could hardly believe it. First, why are multiple links so bad? Second, why didn't eBay contact us and ask us to change the listing instead of just canceling the auction?
And third, why didn't they simply prevent users from creating an auction with more than one link?
I'm a terrible programmer and I know how to do that with a single line of code. Canceling our auction was pretty much the worst thing eBay could have done to us, and we were worried that we'd permanently lost our only bidder. Of course, eBay is a renowned pioneer in many different areas, including very bad customer service. Reaching out to them both through official channels and back channels achieved nothing. In desperation, I created a new auction scheduled to end at the same day as the original one, and then emailed all the blogs who had written about us and everyone who had asked us questions and gave them the new link. Emmett and I prayed for the best and decided to take a vacation to New York City that weekend to visit some friends and blow off some steam. The auction was due to end that Saturday. By Thursday night, we'd once again received our minimum bid. We breathed a sigh of relief. But a couple days later, the morning of the last day of the auction, we hadn't gotten any more bids. but I'd been fielding several technical calls from potential buyers a day, so I was optimistic and got up early to watch the auction. Now that August day in New York, it must have been 90 degrees. I was sitting in my underwear in a rat hole East Village apartment where 4 of my college friends lived, and where 3 of us were crashing for the weekend. Of course, since my friends were poor, there was no AC. I sat on my friend's desktop computer. Every few minutes, I clicked refresh on the eBay page, hoping for a miracle, while everyone else watched on in amusement. Emmett wasn't even watching the auction with me. He was at another friend's place in Brooklyn, and around 8 a.m., the number jumped. All of a sudden, it was 80K. Now, 80,000 was meaningful. It meant that after reimbursing our investors, Emmett and I would each walk away with a little money in our pockets. And then, with an hour left, the bid jumped to 100,000. I ran out of the living room and yelled at my friends. And a few minutes later, the bid was up to 113. A few seconds later, with 15 minutes to go, it went up again, 150. I was a fucking genius. All of these numbers are burned into my mind. 113, 150, 185, and I had just invented a new business model for web startups all across the globe. In the final 10 minutes, the price jumped another $100,000 to $258,100. I'm on the phone with Emmett screaming. My friends are cheering. I felt like I won the Super Bowl. The final price was $258,100. The buyer was Power Joe 1998, who turned out to be Elliot Noss, CEO of Two Cows, a Canadian internet company, buying a startup with his personal eBay account. I'd spoken to Elliot a few times explaining how Kiko worked, and he called a few minutes after the auction ended to congratulate us. The bid was real, and in the following weeks, we finalized the paperwork and payment. That night, I partied like it was my last night on the planet, getting blackout drunk and passing out on my friend's air mattress. Two Cow bought Kiko to bundle along with an existing email program they sold to ISPs. Later, Emmett and I went to Toronto for a week to help Two Cows take control of the property. Ironically, had we wanted jobs in tech, selling Kiko on eBay would have been the greatest way to get one. After the auction, about 20 different people and companies reached out to us, interested in hiring us. This was everything from big successful companies to small startups. Emmett and I walked away from the auction feeling pretty good. After taxes, we each had about $35,000 in our bank accounts now, and we had a successful exit under our belts. Maybe the startup thing wasn't so bad after all. All right, fam. Here's the key lessons. Number 1, when you really want to figure something out, throw all the rules out the window. I never thought you could sell a company on eBay, but we needed a way out and we were willing to get very creative. Number 2, getting the word out is important. Ironically, we did a better job marketing our eBay auction than we had marketing our startup. All the bidders that came to the table came from our press outreach. If we hadn't done the full court press, I don't think we would have sold the company. My shitty first startup helped pave the way for Justin TV, the company that turned into Twitch, which we sold to Amazon for $1 billion. It helped get us into the YC network by getting us into that first batch, where I've developed some of the deepest relationships I've ever had and later worked as a partner. Today, YC's become a global powerhouse, funding companies like Coinbase, Reddit, Dropbox, Instacart, Airbnb, and thousands more. But back then, it was just a crazy idea that Paul Graham had, one that ended up changing my life. All right, if you like that video, smash subscribe and bang that bell, and I'm gonna see you guys next time. Bam. Bam. We needed a way out. We were looking for a way out.